Lexi, whenever you're done with this, I actually do need your
Okay.
tool help.
I'm Sam. You're Brian. Can you talk? Test, test.
Test, 1, 2, check.
We're good there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, okay. Feedback. I'm just making sure there's no feedback for all together.
Does this work? Yes.
Yep. I'm Sam. I'm Brian.
Nice to meet you.
All right. We're good.
Then she has the questions. Well, okay, first is Ryan. Ryan's ready. He already told me that. He can't take it back. Then after Ryan presents, yeah, like a 5 minute. And then,
I don't know. I'm just gonna, I saw there was no slide after Ryan, so I'm just gonna add one with you.
can you drop, do you have it prepared?
No, I would, but I guess I'm gonna
I'm just laughing at 2 weeks before right now.
no, so I thought that,
Oh,
yeah, and then,
No, that's alright.
So
Another
I'd
job
like to just
demand
keep
comes
my
in, I guess.
account executive account. So,
Is it just, are you gonna be customer facing or?
No.
Oh, you're gonna be so good at that. You're gonna love it.
Yeah.
Did Aaron, was Aaron one who convinced you?
No, actually, no. We don't produce so that it's like would attend all of the snowflake events.
I don't know.
And we produce for snowflake. Produce for the business is like baseball thing for like produce on it. Like, okay. And then we went from making calls and talking about it.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Yeah, I know. And then
Well, congrats. Well, I'll miss you, but I'm sure, I mean, we're still gonna be going to all the snowflake events and stuff.
well, they actually are asking me to do so last
That's scary. Damn, I feel scared. I'm happy for you, but not I feel scared.
I wasn't scared before.
I'm gonna go like post up right next to the capital cafe downstairs and take that one.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous.
So mine's not Sam's that what I was gonna put your time. Like we don't get to see your time. That's fine. Well, senior director. No, he's I'll be sure, but like I said, senior development. Yeah, it is really cool. And we'll get like together and like facilitate other people. That's just what I've done. That's the hard thing about it. I know separating air flow from figure out. Oh, I'm pretty excited to launch on myself my architect on my actually asked my way. He actually designed an architect, so that's all the jobs. But I would do my best. But I'm excited to see where it goes. But I'm not. Yeah. I'm assuming they want to talk. Yeah, that's kind of the point. Like, yeah, like, so, what happens next? We'll think about it. I mean, it's a great opportunity. we're gonna have like 20 people here. No, we were just gonna count the chairs, number of hours, made or run on. Yeah. Are you looking at the number of hours or yeah,
All right, folks. I would say it's time to sit down, I'll be honest. We had about 40 registered for this. Could be more of an intimate experience tonight based off of how it's looking now. I don't take exception to that. But so with that, we'll give it about 5 or so more minutes. We're in no rush. We should actually go a little bit quicker tonight due to that. So like 5 minutes if y'all want to sit down in just a couple of minutes.
But keep talking, please. Don't make it awkward. Oh my god.
All right, y'all. If we want to start finding some seats, now might be a good time. Awesome. Well, welcome to the launch of the Apache Airflow chapter here in Austin. This is the first one we're doing here in Austin. We do these all over the nation, actually all over the globe. But this is the very first one for Austin. So it's very special to me. I hope it's special to you. And it's going to be a little bit more of an intimate experience tonight as well. So I'm going to start by asking, who here has heard of Apache Airflow? All right, good. Who here uses Apache Airflow? Awesome. This guy, I remember asking you if you know what Airflow is, and you gave me like a totally different answer. You are using Apache Airflow today? Yeah. The first time I met you. All right. I hope so. That's what we're here for. So, last question. Who here knows what astronomer has to do with Airflow? I know Sam does. I know the commerce people do. Of course, I know Farouk does, and of course, Brian does. Anyone else? All right, cool thing about Astronomer. So we are proud to sponsor this event tonight as the stewards of Apache Airflow. Astronomer contributes 60% of the code to Apache Airflow. We control 100% of the releases for Airflow. That includes Airflow 3 that we're gonna talk about tonight. And we have 18 of the top 24 committers on staff here at Astronomer that contribute to the Airflow project. I'll also say, not only is Apache Airflow the most popular Apache open source project, exceeding Kafka, but we just recently exceeded GitHub stars compared to Flink as well. So important milestone for the open source community, the Airflow community. And the last thing I'll say is Airflow is a very powerful tool, but Astronomer, the stewards of Airflow, is a powerful platform, right? So when the managing of Airflow gets cumbersome and you kind of wake up and you say, I'm not an Airflow company. That's why we exist as the Airflow company, is to manage Airflow for you, right? So with that, we are focused on open source tonight. We're focused on Airflow 3. And we're focused on building this community in Austin, right? And we're very excited and proud to do so. So this is the agenda that we have for tonight. I'm going to turn it over to my technical counterpart, Ryan Pecor, in just a minute to go through Airflow 3. After that, we'll take a little break, stretch our legs, and then a quick fireside chat between some of my favorite people, Brian Sandall at Atmosphere TV and Sam Raymond at Commerce, and kind of just do an intimate fireside chat, some questions about, you know, what are some lesser known use cases for Airflow, some lesser known problems, and we have some really cool stuff prepared for you tonight with that. So, last thing, feedback is really important to us with our open source involvement, right? I would really appreciate if y'all could do me a favor and scan this QR code to give us some feedback before the 20th. If you want to scan the QR code and just send in some jokes, that also counts as feedback too. So it's whatever you want to do. And now I'm going to turn it over to my technical counterpart, Ryan Pecor. We're going to talk a little bit about Airflow 3.1.
Hello and welcome everybody. Thanks for being here, and thank you, Lexi, for going through the first few slides. I had words prepared, but I'm glad I didn't have to go through that. So what I want to talk about today is Airflow 3.1, and before we really dive too deep into that, we'll talk a bit about Airflow 3.0 as well to kind of set the stage. To introduce myself, I am Ryan. I am a field engineer here at Astronomer. I haven't been with the company too long, but I've been in the cloud, DevOps, data ops, data engineering space for almost 9 years now. And I've known about Astronomer for quite some time. I'm actually from Cincinnati, Ohio, which is where the company was originally founded, now headquartered in New York City, but it's been kind of cool, full circle moment to be able to join Astronomer at this time. So as mentioned, the Airflow 3.0 recap is where we'll start to set the stage of what Airflow 3.1 builds upon. Before we dive in, how many folks here, by show of hands, have used Airflow 3.0 just yet? Just a few, okay. And that's okay. It's been about 6 months now since Airflow 3.0 was released. I think now with where Airflow 3.1 is at, we're gonna see a lot more adoption. So it'll be really interesting, I think, this conversation. So Lexi covered some cool stats from here as well. So Airflow is kind of the standard for workflow management. 30 million monthly downloads. Another cool stat, I know Lexi mentioned the Flink one, but we just passed GitHub stars. We just passed Apache Spark in GitHub stars. So that's a really interesting statistic as well. So here are a few key Airflow milestones. Really starting at Airflow 2.0, that's when it was really an enterprise-ready production product. And the 2X series brought to the table a lot of efficiency and ease of use capabilities, as well as data awareness, especially as it got into the later 2X series. In 3.0, some of those capabilities have been taken to the next step, as well as easier to use features and better security, which you'll see in just a minute. So focusing in on Airflow 3.0, there are three kind of core pillars we'll talk about here today: the ease of use, the stronger security, and the run tasks anywhere at any time in any language. So with the ease of use, there are a few core components. DAG versioning is a new feature in 3.0. So this is something that the community has asked for a long time. It is now available. So being able to version your DAGs, look back at DAG history in different code variations, really powerful capability. The UI modernization, if you've used Airflow 3, or if you haven't, and when you do, you'll notice a lot of changes to the UI right away. These are not just cosmetic. There's some true refactoring there that enables some of the other capabilities in 3.1 that we'll talk about shortly as well. And then backfills at scale. So running backfills in the past has been something that's a little bit tedious, maybe using the CLI. Now this is a first-class citizen and can be managed with the scheduler itself. On the security side, task isolation. So this is essentially the decoupling of the metadata database from actual worker execution. So this is a big security plus, but in addition, in this run stage, it enables you to actually run tasks in a remote environment. So this could be an external cluster, but it gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of interacting with the metadata database, which is not done directly anymore. It is done through an external API server. So that is one thing to note, that if you did have tasks that were interacting with the metadata database, you'll need to refactor those to support Airflow 3. Event-driven scheduling, so this is another critical kind of component with Airflow 3 in that event-driven architecture. And then running tasks in any language. So the Task SDK now is going to allow you to run tasks in a variety of languages. So taking just that Python approach and extending it to Go, for example, allowing more developers to use Airflow itself. So that's Airflow 3.0, a lot of big changes. And if you haven't had a chance to use it yet, definitely encourage you to check it out. Airflow 3.1 was just released a couple weeks ago. And this is something that is building upon a lot of those capabilities in Airflow 3.0. So just a few stats here: 80 plus new features, 15 plus improvements, 35 bug fixes. We're going to go through every bug fix slide by slide, so get ready. So a few core pillars here: more support for AI workflows, a new plugins interface, and this is really kind of what I was talking about, building upon that re-architected user interface, and then more continued UI improvements. So where Airflow 3.0 kind of started, making sure that we're feature parity to later 2X versions as well. So we'll start with the AI workflows in Airflow 3.1. There's two kind of core features here to help support these workflows. One of them is called human in the loop, and this is really the star feature of Airflow 3.1 probably. And then the next is this synchronous DAG execution. So starting with human in the loop, this is going to be a way for you to, during your DAG runs and during your execution, pause at a particular task, which will be a human in the loop task, and have some sort of human interaction with that pipeline itself. The example that you'll see in just a moment is actually a support ticket request where an external user creates a support ticket. The support ticket is then generated, an AI-generated response is presented for that support ticket, and then before that response is sent to the end user, it can be reviewed by a human with this human in the loop operator. And so there are 4 new operators to support these workflows. And in this, yes, okay, great, it's showing the action here. So in this example, this is the support ticket. It is fetching the pending ticket, generating the response, and then in the required actions here, you're able to review the AI response and then select your branch operator here. And from there, it takes the correct path of tasks while skipping the other tasks. So in this case, we approved the AI response, but at that review stage is where it pauses and waits for that human guidance. So a few different use cases where this is really powerful, and you're probably already thinking of a lot of these in your mind, but obviously the AI use case, right? Checking whether or not generated responses make sense, whether or not they're valid. The one on the top left there is really powerful as well, though. Thinking about like compliance reports that need to be validated, but it could really be any data that you want to validate before it goes to the next task. And then on the bottom right as well, so requiring input from a domain expert. Could be a domain expert, it could be a manager, it could be somebody who needs to review the output of that task before moving to the next task. So really a lot of capability with these operators. So synchronous DAG execution, it's essentially a new API endpoint that makes interacting with downstream activities a lot simpler. So in the past, this would have taken a few different API calls to trigger the task, to wait for the task to run, to monitor it. Now you're able to do this through this wait API endpoint. So you can think of a scenario where you have some sort of service or external dependency, and now that can be done through a single API endpoint, which is right here. So the next pillar of Airflow 3.1 is going to be the new plugins interface. So plugins have been kind of a core capability of Airflow for quite some time, but this is taken to the next level with the React capabilities. So this modern plugins interface is going to allow you to create React apps, external views, dashboard integrations. Up here, you can see one that's pretty cool, essentially enabling or disabling all of your DAGs directly from the user interface. On the bottom right, there's a note. So the legacy Flask-based approach to creating plugins is no longer supported, so keep that in mind if you do look to upgrade. Then here's another example of embedding, in this case, astronomer docs directly into the user interface here under that Airflow Guides tab via an external view. And then a React app. So this is a snake game, a full React app directly in the Airflow user interface. So if you get bored of doing data engineering, you can play Snake. Yeah, right. So some continued UI improvements as well with Airflow 3.1. This one is really cool, UI internationalization. So I think this is to expand even a little bit that airflow report. I was looking at the kind of summary of those results last year, and one of the really interesting things was there's a lot of airflow use and a lot of responses from North America, from Europe, from India, but there's a lot of other places in the world that aren't really using airflow yet. And so I think this is a really cool way to kind of increase adoption, increase awareness, and it's why it's important to take those surveys for everybody in the room too, so we can continue kind of driving the project forward. You can also favorite DAGs now. So this is a cool way just to favorite a DAG and another way to filter on the DAGs that you may care about in a timely manner. And then some new views. Some of these views were available, like the calendar view, in later 2x versions, but with Airflow 3.1, they weren't quite there. Now they're available fully in 3.1 as well. So just keeping up with the UI updates. So a few other significant changes. So the Task SDK is decoupled from Airflow Core. So essentially what this means is that you can update your tasks without upgrading your Airflow instance independently. There's also a new trigger rule, all done minimum 1 success. So pretty self-explanatory. It requires minimum 1 of your tasks to succeed. And then the DAG parsing duration is shown in the user interface now, so really good for troubleshooting or identifying bottlenecks. And then, of course, Python version updates. Python 3.13 is now supported, and 3.9 is depreciated. So keep that in mind as you look to upgrade. And check the release notes for more features. As always, there are changes, especially if you haven't used Airflow 3, that could cause breaking changes, but for the most part, that should all be outlined in the release notes. And this is time for questions. So anybody have any questions that we can answer? Anything about Airflow 3.0, 3.1 that you're curious about? This is open Q&A space.
Is there a Helm chart for 3.1
Can you repeat
out?
it so everyone can hear?
Is there a Helm chart out for 3.1?
There should be, yes. There should be. It is fully available at this point. So it was released GA 3-4 weeks ago now.
What else? Anyone have a hard one? Sam?
Do you have any insight on like the number of folks that are using Airflow and like the percentage of those that have already adopted Airflow 3.0, and of those folks that haven't yet adopted it, what are some of the challenges that they're facing in order to make that jump?
Yeah, that's a good question. From what I understand, there haven't been tons and tons of folks who have adopted Airflow 3.0 yet. I think the biggest factor is that it's only been out for 6 months. As far as major issues, I'm not sure. Ben, have you heard of major issues? I don't think there have been any like major issues that we've like triaged, but
Doesn't have to be issues.
yeah.
What are things that folks might be like hesitant about making that transition?
Yeah, Ben, I see that.
Yeah, I can take this one. So I think naturally a lot of people are just hesitant to adopt a new version because they don't want to be the early adopters. We're already past that now. I think Airflow 3.0 came out in April, if I'm not mistaken. So we're like 6-7 months down the line here. The first couple of patches, like up to 3.04, did have some bugs, like some salary workers had memory leaks, were a little bit slower. Like we're at a point now where that's been patched. So, I mean, everyone's going to have their own level of like risk and how risky they want it to be. At this point, there's not really any risk to upgrading.
I'll add one more. Our CSP counterparts for their CSP more or less rip-off versions are also adding Airflow 3 support. So if the CSPs trust it, it's gonna be okay.
A quick one, thank you. What is your essential competitive advantage versus other solutions on the market? Like how you stand out versus others?
So astronomer, that is, or airflow.
Airflow.
Yeah, so one of the biggest advantages of Airflow is that you're writing your pipelines as code. So I think back to the days when I was doing a lot of creation of Azure Data Factory pipelines, and those can be very painful to manage. So when you think about being able to version control them with Git, for example, that's a really powerful capability. There are a number of other kind of capabilities. Number one, being Python. So a lot of folks just know Python. It's a good language to kind of adopt. And then just the nature of being a task-based approach and being able to order the tasks. Extensibility. So over, is it 1,200 or 2,000 different operators and connections with third-party systems. So the extensibility of being able to connect with lots of different sources, lots of different systems that you may be using, make it a really powerful way to author pipelines.
Yeah, so I have a question about dashboards, but before I go there, I just want to answer one more thing on the upgrade thing. So we were using like 3.2 for almost a year before we got into, below the 3, like the 2.8 and 2. Whatever it was, for almost a year before we got to 3, like 3 months back. And the good thing was, I mean, literally from a code standpoint, there was not much that was not backward compatible, so we were able to easily move that. But the UI was really good. So all the team is right now pretty happy with the UI on the 3.0. So migration wise, at least I have been through it and I've not seen any major things happening there that you need to be worried about if you're thinking of a migration. From a question standpoint, I had just wanted to see on the dashboard side in Astronomer specifically, not on Airflow, but on the Astronomer side, I know currently we have an option to go with Grafana and build the dashboards. Is there any plans to embed it into the Astronomer thing itself directly in future?
I don't know if there are plans right now to embed some of that information. You can see quite a bit of it, and depending on the tier that you're on, there is some access to dashboards. I believe it's on our enterprise tier, that you'll be able to see some of the different dashboards that you may be creating with Grafana. But any of the specifics that you have, we can take as feedback for sure.
Yeah, mostly an ability to build custom dashboards would be better. I know that we have dashboards which are good, but an ability to just further it down by some more custom would be more helpful.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Ben, do we have anything on the roadmap for that? Custom dashboards are always difficult because everybody wants their own customization.
Before I turn it over to Ben, can I ask, is the function of those dashboards for monitoring?
More than monitoring, it's like building a CIO leadership level report out on showing how things have progressed quarter-over-quarter or something like that. So, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'll let Ben answer.
Yeah, I mean, similar to the approach as Airflow as a whole, as far as like being code first, that's also the approach that gets taken to like surfacing information for dashboards, so making the ability to export metrics, export logs, all of that kind of stuff, and then you can essentially do what you want with it. That's generally been more productive than providing dashboards that may serve the needs of some people, but then other people would want to extend it further. So that's what exists today.
So, and when you say export, it's like exporting out of the backend Postgres?
Probably via the API, maybe. Stu, did you want to chime in?
Yeah. What's it called? We have a feature in Astronomer Cloud where you can do Prometheus remote write. So it's any Prometheus target, we can write the metrics straight to it. Actually, Gautam wrote the plugin for it, so he can talk about it, but it's called Universal Metrics Export.
Did you want to speak to it, Gautam?
Okay. Yeah, it's a feature where you can shape your custom metrics out of your deployments. I'm not an Airflow expert, but I worked on the feature of ability to shape custom metrics out of Airflow. I think multiple people have adopted it, and that's working fine for them.
And not to conflate the very comprehensive technical answers, but if the goal is monitoring and observability, we also have Astro Observe, but I know you know about that, Farouk. What else? Anyone want to like end us on a hard note? Someone think of like the hardest question possible? Nobody? I know we have engineers in the room. All right. Oh. I feel like your hard questions require a one-off conversation, though. And then you can just, like, rapid fire them at us. We'll see. All right, we're going to take a couple minutes. Please grab some food. Like, we'll start again at 6. What time is it? Thank you, team. So we'll start again at 6:45. Please, the astronomer team members, I think it's clear who they are, but please be as forthcoming as possible with your questions. Help yourself to food. We have beers, and it'd be great to just keep the conversation going. We'll pick it up at 6:45 with Sam, Brian, and Mr. Ben Shank for a little fireside chat, and then we'll keep the night going.
provide a lot more information to business. Like most of my work is on like the data warehouse. Like I have the same number. Like I do like a jack of all trades, all these things. I these are things that like I constantly have to work and I have to make sure that find the like 5 experience
Okay, my friends. If we want to start finding our seats, we're going to start the fireside chat here probably in about 2 minutes or so. Alrighty, everyone. I think we're about all settled in. So Mr. Ben Shank. Ben, how long have you been with Astronomer? 2 years, which is a long time at Astronomer. And Ben has actually just recently taken on a leadership role, too, and he's doing a fantastic job doing it. Yes, applause deserved. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Ben Shank, and he will be leading the fireside chat today.
Awesome. Let's get into it. So we don't actually have any more slides. This is just so you guys can see these handsome gentlemen on the screen. I think this is going to be pretty fun. We are going to hear from a couple of Airflow practitioners. Please take a seat if you would like. And we're going to be talking about all things Airflow, both from a strategic and a practitioner perspective. And then we'll follow up with some Q&A at the end. So please, as we go along, start thinking of your questions to ask to these guys. So let's start off with some easy stuff. Brian, Sam, do you guys want to each introduce yourselves, share your current role, and then just a quick snapshot about how Airflow fits into your day-to-day? Maybe you, Brian, first.
Hey, guys. I guess first, thank you to Astronomer for putting on this really great event for people in Austin interested in learning more about Airflow. And thank you for inviting me to speak, and also thank you to Sam for being on the panel here with me today. And also thank you all for coming out. My name is Brian Sandall. I've been in data and analytics for 15 years, all in Austin, Texas, and primarily with tech and tech-enabled service companies, including Retail Me Not, Favor, and currently Atmosphere TV. At Atmosphere, I lead a small but mighty team of data engineer and analyst, which is, yes, exactly one of each. And we focus on supporting our data infrastructure, doing internal reporting and analysis, and more recently, building ad data products for customer-facing products that help support our ads platform, which involve targeting, attribution, and incrementality measurement. Airflow for us is really critical for all of our pipelines, whether it's ingestion, data transformation, writebacks to customer-facing systems, and also we have DAGs on DAGs, so that help us understand what's stale or long-running. So we kind of do a lot with Airflow.
Awesome, thanks. How about you, Sam?
Is my mic on?
Flip it up.
It's like a tough act to follow. You're very descriptive with your introduction. I wasn't prepared to speak that much. But hey, y'all, I'm Sam Rahman. I'm a senior developer on the data solutions team at Commerce. Commerce is a leading e-commerce platform. We're headquartered out of Austin. Shopify is our mortal enemy. And I've been with the company going on 2 years now. And Airflow is a key tool in our day-to-day. We work with a variety of different operational systems, Salesforce, mortal enemy of mine, among various other platforms that we use we use Airflow to help consolidate and orchestrate all of that data into our data warehouse in Snowflake. Yeah, it's a bit about me and how Airflow fits in my day-to-day.
Sam's also the chapter lead for the Snowflake group here in Austin, too. So
yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, for any Snowflake practitioners, hit Sam up afterwards. He would love to talk about Snowflake with you guys too. So let's talk a little bit about data vision. So Brian, if you can share a little bit about the vision on how your company manages data, so what that looks like in practice and how you balance technical needs, business goals, anything involving things like privacy regulations. Can you talk about that a bit?
Sure. So for us, And really for like being a centralized data team, which also is kind of a stakeholder resource, our roadmap and our vision for data is really about how we support the business goals. So maybe slightly restating what would be a balancing act is really a top-down exercise. So we think about everything on the data roadmap that's going to drive a business goal, and that business goal is going to have some sort of meaning to the company. It could be helping them make better decisions, helping them make faster decisions, helping them operate at scale, in certain cases building customer products specifically. And so the technical requirements around kind of that vision then come into play when we have a limitation. So we're not able to do something fast enough. It becomes really expensive or complex to do something. So really we use those technical requirements as kind of the checks and balances for that top-down business roadmap that we're building, and then everything else kind of falls in place behind that. So there's a business case for every technical requirement that we have. That's about how much money we can save, how much time we can save, and that's really how we kind of bubble everything up to how we speak about the value in terms of what the business cares about, versus kind of the data team has maybe its own perspective on what's important and how that's executed.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. So like that value-driven approach, I think we hear a lot about like data engineering teams being more of a cost center. So I think it sounds like that approach really combats that vision and that view of data teams. Cool. And Sam, you're pretty close to the implementation side. So juggling DAG dependencies, migrating environments. How does that vision from leadership translate to the challenges that you face at the DAG and the task level?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think how I describe leadership's vision, really they're not thinking about things from the level of like DAGs and tasks and having to orchestrate and manage all that. I think they're relying on us to be able to deliver a data architecture that's is reliable, consistent, and scalable. And how that kind of materializes at our implementation layer. Obviously, I touched upon like having to schedule tasks, orchestrate them, but also say if there's like a DAG that fails, being able to perform that root cause analysis, impact tracing, things like that. So I think, when it comes to each of those things that I touched upon, that's how we help deliver that data architecture that allows us to, deliver a reliable and scalable data architecture.
Awesome. Cool. Let's talk a little bit about pipelines and dependencies. So on your side, Brian, you are ingesting tens of terabytes of data per month, hundreds of tasks across your DAGs. So quite a big data state. Can you walk us through what the pipelines look like and where Airflow plays the biggest role in keeping things on track?
And so I guess before I get into my answer, does everyone here know the meme? And it's Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny, and he's got kind of the crazed look on his eye, and behind him there's all these lines and pictures and conspiracy theories. You guys all know that, so just hold that image in your mind, and I'm going to come back to this at the end, okay? So just hold that image. So more directly to the question, the role that Airflow plays. So we do ingest. We are a data source-rich company. Being on the ad tech side, we have a lot of demand-side platforms and supply-side platforms that we work with. They all have separate ingestion processes that we manage through Airflow. All the data that we ingest goes through then like first-party, third-party data munging, which sounds gross, but it is a technical word that means combining things. And then we obviously process that into a reporting-ready state versus its raw state. At the end, we do write-backs, I mentioned, to Salesforce and other systems that business stakeholders use. And then we also, I mentioned, have DAGs for monitoring DAGs. So all that stuff, kind of remember the Charlie picture that you guys have in your head. Without Airflow, there's one person at the company that just knows all that stuff, and they just manage all that stuff. So Airflow is really kind of that single pane of glass that helps keep all those orchestration pieces together.
Awesome. Love that answer. So Sam, on your side, I understand you've been exploring how dependencies across DAGs and maybe task-level dependencies affect your ability to scale. So can you explain with that what problem you're solving for and why this is a critical area for your team?
Yeah, I actually have my architect, Joe from Commerce, here with me today, and he's, well, I guess both of us, probably him more, has been exploring task-level dependencies. So again, I'm going to bring up Salesforce because it's usually a huge pain in the ass, but maybe we'll have like somebody on the CRM team update like the field definition of something in Salesforce, and they forget to remind us, and you have the inevitable task failure. But should that failure be holding up everything downstream of it, we might have like financial reports or some sort of like go-to-market report that might be using Salesforce data, but not specifically Salesforce data from the tasks that failed. So that kind of led us to explore the use of task level dependencies. But one of the challenges in doing that, obviously you can have a DAG that has, I'll throw out a random number, like 50 tasks in it. And obviously with each DAG, as you start to break that down into task level dependencies, that number of task level dependencies can definitely skyrocket. So you kind of have to explore, find that sweet spot, understand, kind of like survey your previous task failures to understand what dependencies you can kind of break down to that task level, and obviously not apply that pattern to all of your DAGs, because then you're just going to have a zillion dependencies to manage. So just trying to find that sweet spot where you can, reduce some of that friction downstream, but at the same time ensure that you can scale accordingly.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that like the frustrations and the complexities with DAG level and task level dependencies, it falls into this idea of like best practices in Airflow. So I think that's where like this whole community is really good for us to talk to each other, figure out how we're handling that kind of stuff. For sure. Also, you mentioned about how you were a bit intimidated by having Joe here. I can see everyone's kind of giving me a wide berth. So. Brian, let's talk a little bit about privacy regulations. So they're changing quickly. There's a lot of stuff that makes the landscape pretty complex for privacy regulations. So how do you anticipate these changes in your role and design pipelines that can adapt without constant rewrites?
So I can say for Atmosphere, we don't hang on to any technically PII with the exception of MAIDs. As you guys are familiar with MAIDs, mobile advertising IDs, and they're what's connected to like your App Store account, for example, and they're, as a ad tech platform, how we track you out of home, not in a creepy way, but in a way that we understand kind of who's potentially seeing an ad and if they're converting. So that's really the only sensitive information that we have. And if we need anything more sensitive, which is a hashed email address, a first name, last name, zip code, we have like identity resolution providers we work with for that, and we don't have any of those pipes kind of connected on a regular basis. So I would say privacy for us is not necessarily a huge kind of pain point or friction point today, but to the extent that there are other things that kind of fit in the same mold of how do I make sure my systems are like somewhat immunized to changes, a lot of that comes to the data modeling for us and how we stage that data in source agnostic ways. So maybe not referring to something as a specific source-based key, or maybe building a framework which kind of supports multiple source providers if you were to change or have issues with data kind of coming in the future. So really just comes down to that, like being agnostic about who you use and thinking about the more conceptual framework, I think, for the data model and how Airflow supports that kind of upstream and downstream.
Yeah, cool. And lineage is another area where teams often struggle. So Sam, you've experimented with some tools there, I understand, but you've found some of those not quite mature enough. So can you explain a little bit about why that's so important to your workflows and what an ideal solution there would look like?
Yeah. Where do I begin? Obviously, like we're using Airflow to manage our DAG level lineage today. Obviously, I guess in an ideal world, we'd be able to use Airflow to manage our table level lineage as well. And then, of course, kind of in a platform where we'd be able to partner alongside of not just developers, but obviously, be able to share that that lineage, just visibility into lineage with our business counterparts as well. Yeah, does that help answer your question a bit? Yeah.
Yeah, it does. And I guess for both of you, is there an area in which the privacy that you talked about, Brian, and the lineage connect? Like, is it becoming more of an accountability tool, just like it is a technical one?
So I think on our side, whether it's privacy related or not, that auditability and that transparency is really key for any like data quality or any data questions that do come up. And if there are legal ramifications, the faster I can solve that and the higher confidence I have in solving that, the better. So I would say there's definitely a natural kind of relationship there between lineage. That's actually a portmanteau of those two words, lineage and privacy.
Love it. Let's keep that going.
You guys are looking for new product names. Lineage, just remember I get 10% of whatever you make on that product.
Beautiful. How about you, Sam? Anything to
Yeah,
add?
definitely. Lineage plays a huge part in privacy compliance, right? Obviously, it gives you a layer of visibility into where data is coming from, how it's being transformed, and who's using it. So I think that it's really critical that you nail the kind of challenge around lineage. So obviously we talked about DAG level, even table level, right? And how that plays into your overall data strategy, how that's baked into the whole compliance and privacy aspect of it. But it's huge. It's a problem that I feel like everybody's facing. We're trying a solution for it today. And there's a lot of great conversation around it, but it's a lot easier said than done.
Yeah, absolutely. So just a couple of closing questions here. So for you, Brian, when you're setting the vision of your data platform, how do you decide which technologies and practices are worth investing in the long term?
So this is going to be maybe an unsatisfyingly general answer, but it comes down to reducers and producers. So reducers, anything that's going to reduce cost, reduce time, reduce complexity, reduce risk, are investments that are worth making at the margin. And then producers, as a business, anything that's going to help me grow my customer base, enable me to reach new customers, renew existing customers, increase spend size, or revenue, which I guess I kind of started getting to that second part already. That's really kind of the framework for us. So if it's not either of those things, if it's something that's fun or interesting but doesn't have an obvious benefit on the cost, effort, complexity, revenue, customer base side, it's something that's good to keep in the backlog, but maybe doesn't kind of jump to the front of the queue. So that really drives kind of a lot of our decision making.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I know this is not on the question list, but do you guys have like some pretty well built out practices around that? Because like it sounds like you're thinking about a lot of the same things over and over again. Like how do you guys make decisions there?
Like any rituals around kind of the investments that we make?
Yeah.
So I would say we do quarterly planning, and then usually there's like a renewal cycle for existing software. So we try to get ahead of when we're going to renew something. For example, like reassessing the benefits. I don't think we have a standard template that we follow for all the kind of how much we save in cost or time or how much we make in revenue, but usually that's a conversation we have kind of with the executive team, and they're helping us find stakeholder sponsors that will kind of vouch for this is something we would benefit from, and that helps us kind of make the case independent of having a specific, exact number we can point to all the time.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love the ability for like agile companies to like be considering the benefits at each renewal cycle of the tools. That's really cool. And for you, Sam, if you think about the next 1 to 2 years of Airflow and orchestration in general, do you have any items on a wish list that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, it just goes back to the topic of lineage. Again, we're managing the DAG level lineage. I'd love to kind of have a unified platform that Airflow would offer and kind of solve that table level lineage aspect as well. I think column level might be a stretch and maybe far more granular than any of us really need. But I'd definitely love to see that capability. I don't know if it's on the product roadmap, but if it was, I'd be pretty darn excited about it.
Yeah, for sure. And also, if anyone is wondering similar things for other items on your wish list, there's a couple of things you can do. Talk to someone from Astronomer as the stewards of the Airflow project. That's a good way to get visibility. The other one is contribute yourself. It's an open source project. We love people volunteering to contribute, to be part of the project as well. And finally, last question for both of you. If you guys had advice for this room for Airflow practitioners, what would that advice be?
So I'm going to go outside of the purely technical kind of answer here and say that one thing that I found in my data career so far is that trust is the most important thing as a data organization, because so much of what people think about when they think about the data team and whether they want to work with them is, can they help me answer difficult problems, and can they provide me with stuff that I believe to be true, accurate, consistent across all the reports I look at. So as much as Airflow is a tool, it's also the processes and the conversations that your team has one-on-one with stakeholders that really build that trust, and that trust leads to partnership, and that partnership really should be kind of at the center of how you operate as a data and analytics organization. So that's kind of the one, I would say, tool agnostic kind of piece of advice I'd give, but has a tie into Airflow a little bit.
Awesome. And you, Sam?
Yeah, I think my approach would be to suggest that if you're new or if you're just a practitioner, definitely lean into the community. I'm really a big fan of the Airflow community. I've met a lot of great people, especially in the city of Austin. Obviously, there's Ben, Lexi. I want to shout out the astronomer folks as well. Where's Miles? I think Ryan might have, Miles right there. Got Ryan. Brianna, Brianna's with the community side. Got to shout out Brianna. Yeah, she helped make this possible. But with Airflow, especially over the last couple months, there have been a lot of great webinars, crash courses that we're getting certification vouchers for. There's a lot of power in this community. There's a lot of great documentation available online. Yeah, that would be my suggestion. I've definitely gotten a lot of value about being more involved with that community, and obviously super excited about the fact that we're starting this up in Austin. So yeah, that'd be my key takeaway.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. Love to open it up to the group here for any questions. Thank you very much, guys. Questions from the group?
You guys need mics?
So Sam, I guess you guys are using Snowflake for your actual processing, but Brian, they mentioned that you process terabytes of data. How? Bash operator, yes.
Yeah.
So all of it today gets loaded to a GCS or AWS bucket, and then we have a DAG that runs every so often, kind of streaming that data in, and it's connected to a stream within Snowflake, which helps us process that into our columnarized versions of those tables. So yeah, the tens of terabytes, it's really like two primary sources, which is the out-of-home MAIDs that we collect. That's kind of location level data, and then also, yeah, the SSPs and DSPs just take up a lot of real estate within Snowflake for us.
Yeah, as someone who came from the data storage space, orchestrate terabytes. Don't store terabytes, orchestrate it. Be smart.
Thank you. Hey, I have a question. So I come from the payments industry, so we deal with lots of transactions on a day-to-day basis. So my question would be as a data engineer, what are some use cases that we should be open to? We see oh wow, this is a perfect use case to fit Airflow into. So from your experiences, would you like sharing those eureka moments oh yes, this is? That is the first question. And the second question is something that Airflow cannot solve. What do you think?
Ooh, I like that. So can you repeat the first question again?
The first question was as a data engineer, what are some use cases from your experience where you felt the eureka moment, oh yes, this is a really, really good case where Airflow can be used. Yeah.
So it's polarizing. What's the thing that sticks out in your head as yes, this is a home run for Airflow from y'all's perspective?
I would probably echo what Ryan mentioned earlier when he was just talking about Airflow versus its competitors. I come from a software engineering background, so obviously always thinking about how to version my code, and I think that's a very robust feature when it comes to Airflow. Yeah, you can schedule things with a cron scheduler and stuff like that, but obviously when you start to think about infrastructure as code, that's kind of how I've been comfortable with it, and it depends on who you ask. But to me, I think it's been the easiest way to, version and govern parts of my platform that aren't necessarily a part of the product. But yeah, does that help answer your question a bit? Cool.
I'm trying to think of how we slander Airflow next. The second question was, what does it not do so well?
Yeah, or maybe a misconception. When you first started entering the Airflow world, maybe something you thought of hey, this might work, and then you found out, no, not at all. That won't work. Anything stick out to you there?
So having used Airflow for quite a while, I think a few versions back, there were some use cases that weren't that great for Airflow. Some of the things that come to mind is when people wanted to take more of a data asset driven approach rather than a pipeline approach. That's pretty valuable because people care about what you're delivering. They don't care about the plumbing that's in between. And the other thing that Airflow traditionally wasn't great at would be streaming pipelines. There's some great streaming solutions out there. Now, for both of those use cases, they're less of a factor nowadays with Airflow 3. So event-driven scheduling makes it a lot easier to do micro-batch. So think of every few seconds, batches of data can pass through. That's quite achievable with newer versions of Airflow, and there is this asset-based approach now with Airflow 3. So the community in Airflow has been really good at seeing what gaps exist and what you couldn't do with Airflow and making changes architecturally to make it possible. So that's the great thing about the newer versions of Airflow.
Good question. I love that question. What else? Team? Anyone have any questions about Atmosphere TV or Commerce for Brian and Sam?
Tough crowd.
All right. I'll ask one more time so we have engineers in the room. Who wants to think of something really, really hard, like borderline unanswerable? Embarrass us. Yeah.
A hard one now. This not to anyone specific, but to all Airflow gurus. So what were you using before Airflow? Just to give context, my company, most teams have migrated to Airflow from Jenkins. I'm looking at migrating for my team. So do you have any tips for the migration? Anyone?
Ben, that sounds like it'll be directed from you. You said Jenkins? Migrating from Jenkins to Airflow?
Yeah.
Thank God I'm in sales. Shank?
Well, so to answer your first question, a couple of roles before working at Astronomer, I actually helped build an orchestration platform. Now, after getting deep into Airflow, I kind of feel like I wasted a few years of my life building that because of how much better Airflow does things. So I'm not even going to say the name of it because I don't want you guys to look it up. You could probably find it on my LinkedIn. As to like your use case, there's a lot of people that are migrating from Jenkins. Jenkins is also something a lot of people are embarrassed to say that they still use for orchestration, but it's embedded in a lot of really big enterprises. The good thing is that there's a proven path for moving from Jenkins over to Airflow, and it's been done quite a few times.
Okay, so you want to take a stab at it? Or?
All right, y'all. Oh,
I think Sam's got it.
yeah, Sam.
Oh, I haven't used Jenkins before. Before I joined Commerce, we're using Astronomer. We're using Managed Airflow through Astronomer today. Maybe if you're curious about that upgrade, you can ask Joe about it. But before I used Airflow, and actually before I joined Commerce, I hadn't used Airflow before. We used a legacy. I want to call it legacy just because it feels very old, but it was called Control M.
That's legacy.
Yeah, is it legacy? Okay. Yeah, I never really used it much personally, but I know that it was a very important part of the team. Yeah, again, I wasn't very hands-on when it came to Control M, but I hear a lot more conversation about Airflow than Control M, so maybe that will tell you a bit about popularity and what's being used more. But yeah.
Shank, do you maybe want to speak to like legacy schedulers just a little bit and why Airflow is better?
Yeah, I mean, Control M is an example of a tool that's existed for a really long time. It was kind of niche, right? People didn't even really talk that much about orchestration or workflow management back then. And so the people that did, they were like a pretty small, quiet bunch. So as it's come more to the forefront, I think it's kind of natural that more people have their eyes on it. People are more demanding about what they need, and Airflow's really followed that trend. So people refer to these schedulers like Control M as legacy because they haven't really evolved too much. They probably do a lot of really important stuff in really big companies, but at the end of the day, it's a very basic means of orchestration that leaves a lot to be desired.
Stop an infiltrator.
All good. Yeah, I think I'll go next.
Just chased him out.
Yeah, on the line of this migration aspect, I think Informatica, we are IICS Informatica shop, have maybe 5,000 plus jobs. I'm just curious, I think, whether astronomer or just Airflow community, there are migration assistant codes available, right, utilities. How much has been adoption last year or two, or conversion rate, and how robust are they, Does it provide 80% coverage? Just general idea, I think, migration standpoint, success rate, and those kind of thing.
Do you guys have an answer for that?
No. I can say something.
Yeah, so Informatica is a little bit different to some of these other tools, like tools Control-M and similar to those. They're quite easy to move across because there's not a whole lot of underlying logic there. So as long as you can export the definition as a file like an XML file or a JSON file, there's a lot of tooling that already exists that allows you to convert those to Airflow DAGs. So that part is pretty seamless. I think the biggest consideration companies have is, what are these doing? And interruption of service is the biggest blocker for them, right? Like, pipelines are critical. They're doing really important things. When you migrate, you need to make sure that that cutover happens as seamlessly as possible. So that's the biggest barrier that needs planning. The actual success rate is extremely high to do it. It's really getting the investment from all stakeholders to make the move, right? And so it's a lot more of a communication and a planning exercise than it is a technical exercise, because the technical side is done even for tools like Informatica that are kind of a level above as far as the complexity goes. But there are a lot of lift and shift migration tooling that will work for Informatica to Airflow.
Oh yeah, while we were on the topic of migrations, I wanted to talk about my first love, Luigi, if anyone's used it. It's a Spotify open source. It was, I think they sunset it. But yeah, we ended up migrating by pretty much letting Airflow run the Luigi things and just letting Luigi be a DAG definition, and then kind of phased it out. So that was probably 7 years ago. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's a really common pattern as well. So especially when there is a lot of business logic, Ryan mentioned earlier about the breadth of connectors that are available for Airflow. So a lot of people, the easy path is start your Airflow DAGs at the top level of orchestration. Just orchestrate what was being done previously, so you don't interrupt anything. And then over time, you start refactoring what Airflow is orchestrating to use those best practices. But nice shout out for Luigi. I think there's some YouTube videos floating around where people were talking about the different orchestration options 8 years ago, and Luigi and Airflow were some of the top two. Obviously, Airflow won out, but yeah, nice call out. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys. I don't know if you want to say anything else, Lexi, but...
What else is there to say, Shank? I think it's all been said. Thank you all so much for coming out. So this is supposed to be the good part, but the great part is the conversations we have, us all being here in person together. So I really hope I know it's late, we all have work tomorrow, but we still got a little bit of food, we still have a little bit more beer. Feel free to stick around and keep the conversation going. I think we have this room until about 8:30. Honestly, that's pretty... Oh yeah, one more question?
No, it's a comment, announcement, invitation. We organize Airflow Summit, and we are located in Austin. And my name is Mara. She is Galia, by the way. And we help organizing the Airflow Summit as a producers, and we collaborate with this, organization and the PMCs who are behind it. The last event was in October. We are about to release the recordings of all the sessions, but still there are some recordings available now. If you go to airflowsummit.org, we had an Airflow online reconnect, and there are some sessions, the plenary sessions, a lot about what Sam just shared about 3.0. I don't think we had 3.1 already. No. Not yet. And we work with Brianna on this organization, by the way. And yeah, let's get in touch and we'll let you know. We'll be happy to invite you to next edition, which is about to be announced, the day, the city, and the date. Thank you.
Awesome. No, thank you. All right, y'all. So I hope we stick around, eat a little more food, keep the conversation going. But thank you all so much for coming out tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It's so funny that it's like, oh, no more questions, and then we had like more questions than before.
No,
Thanks a lot, Brian.
Listening to Brian speak, and I forgot everything.
I have that
This
effect
guy
on
can't.
people,
Yeah,
it's okay.
I was like, dude, he's saying a lot of shit.
If you want to take that, we'll drop it back there.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Awesome. Chicago's kind of another so it's like New York and Boston, that's like the big where most of the employees are. There's a small team in the southeast, and Florida, the Pola team, which is all of us here, and then the folks in Dallas, and Bay Area, and Central California, the other two. I was like, yeah, travel quite a bit, but it's usually like here in Dallas. Yeah, we just like we could bring this up down there, maybe once a month or every couple months. And then we were in Denver last week for our QBRs. Our chief revenue officer actually lives in Denver. No, there's two other reps that are up there too. And I did actually make a trip out of it. I got cousins and uncle and my whole dad's side of the family up there. So I stayed for the weekend. Kids out of Halloween, older those games. We did actually. My wife picked it out. My daughter, 18 months, she loves Monsters Inc. So we dressed her up as Boo. My wife got like a skirt outfit, like Mike Wazowski, the green guy with the eyeball, and then I was supposed to be Sully, like the race car blue guy, but really it was like a blue shirt with like purple polka dots put on it, and then some horns. I took a picture on Mom. Monster. You should have done Astro Boy. We were just making a joke about that.
Like when you walk the door that smiles when I came here, there's like a door that's labeled like Astro Boy. Where it's like, I was like, oh, that's not Astro Boy.
She was asking me about that, and I was like, there's no.
Yeah, there's a one called Astro Boy.
Yeah, if you've ever changed our logo, they should find a way to work that into it. That would make some great like swag.
And also Joe.
We
did have it. I don't know. And then when I was like, what are they taking out? I like had the microphone and everything. And I was like, taking out. I'm like, hey, did you register for this? And I was like, bro. And then like, I was like, okay. whole effort details after that become very unsustainable. We have so many use cases where not even bake-off, walking the bake-off of infrastructure optimization, that we will be, 30% plus less in infrastructure costs versus GCC or NWA and then totally I mean, and also, managed airflow product is managed airflow infrastructure, and you still need to do all the self-managing for airflow. So, appreciate it, but you're on.
I think you'll have to column level or table level lineage. Yeah, like what's I think it's just but like there are still some pieces where like until where the reason I asked that first question, I'm working with a company that's, I think has a similar dynamic where like there's a conversation, there's like all the airflow, along with like other, and then there's different things that support like the application. And what I think we do want kind of like a lot of customer success stories that actually go. Yeah. It's just you should make you hold on. Yeah. It just so happens it's a certain cybersecurity company that's so okay, perfect. Yeah, and I can talk to my contact there.
all so much for your help. The food was absolutely delicious. It looked gorgeous. It was like everything was perfect. Thank you.